First contact and deception. The vast control room of the Global Space Observation Center hummed with activity as scientists and technicians monitored an array of sophisticated equipment. Dr. Samantha Chen, the lead astrophysicist, leaned forward in her chair, her eyes fixed on the pulsating signal on her holographic display. She had been tracking this anomaly for weeks, and now finally she was certain. "Director Hayes," she called out, her voice steady despite the excitement coursing through her veins. "I think you need to see this." Director Marcus Hayes, a tall man with salt and pepper hair and a commanding presence, strode across the room. "What have you got, Dr. Chen?" Samantha pointed to the rhythmic patterns on her screen. "It's artificial, sir, and it's not one of ours." Hayes' eyes widened as he processed the implications. "You're saying?" "Yes, sir," Samantha confirmed. "We've just detected our first verified extraterrestrial signal." The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, governments around the world were notified, and an emergency United Nations session was called. As the days passed, the signal grew stronger, and astronomers tracked its source to a fleet of vessels approaching the solar system at an impossible speed. Earth held its breath, united in anticipation and fear of the unknown. Military forces worldwide were put on high alert, while civilian populations oscillated between excitement and panic. In this charged atmosphere, Dr. Chen found herself thrust into the spotlight as one of the key figures in humanity's preparation for first contact. 3 months after the initial detection, the alien fleet entered Earth's orbit. The world watched in awe as a massive ship, easily the size of a small city, positioned itself above the United Nations headquarters in New York. Smaller vessels hovered over other major cities across the globe. A message, transmitted in perfect English and every major Earth language, echoed from the ships. "People of Earth, we come in peace. We are the Zirconian Empire, and we wish to establish diplomatic relations with your world." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. A delegation of world leaders, including Dr. Chen and Director Hayes, was chosen to meet with the Zirconians aboard their mothership. As they ascended in a specially designed shuttle, Samantha couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. The interior of the Zirconian ship was a marvel of technology and alien aesthetics. Curved, organic shapes melded seamlessly with pulsating energy conduits and holographic interfaces. The air itself seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly quality. Their hosts, the Zirconians, were equally fascinating. Tall, slender beings with iridescent skin and large, multifaceted eyes, they moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost hypnotic. The leader of the delegation, Ambassador Zalvex, greeted them with a series of melodic clicks and trills that their translators rendered into warm words of welcome. "Esteemed representatives of Earth," Zalvex began, his voice smooth and reassuring. "We have long observed your planet and have been impressed by your species' rapid advancement and potential. We come to offer you friendship and to share our knowledge in the hopes of ushering in a new era of peace and prosperity for both our peoples." The human delegation listened in rapt attention as Zalvex outlined the Zirconians' proposal. They offered to share advanced technology in fields such as energy production, medicine, and space travel. In return, they asked for cultural exchange and the right to establish a permanent embassy on Earth. As the negotiations progressed over the following weeks, Dr. Chen found herself working closely with the Zirconian scientists. She was amazed by their advanced understanding of astrophysics and the glimpses they provided into the wider galaxy. Yet, something nagged at the back of her mind, a sense that the Zirconians were holding something back. One evening, as she pored over some data in her lab, she noticed an anomaly in the Zirconian power signatures. It was subtle, easily missed, but it suggested their ships were far more powerful than they had disclosed. Intrigued, she began to dig deeper. Meanwhile, the cultural exchange between humans and Zirconians was in full swing. Cities around the world hosted alien visitors, and human artists, scientists, and diplomats were invited to tour Zirconian vessels. The global mood was one of optimism and excitement about the future. Director Hayes, however, shared Samantha's unease. In a private meeting, he confided his concerns. "Something doesn't add up, Dr. Chen. The Zarkonians are too perfect, too accommodating. What's their real agenda?" Samantha nodded, relieved to voice her own doubts. "I found discrepancies in their technical data. Their ships are capable of far more than they're letting on. And have you noticed how they deflect questions about their home world or the rest of their empire?" As they spoke, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Hayes rushed to the command center, Samantha close on his heels. The main screen showed a startling sight: dozens of new Zarkonian ships appearing in Earth's orbit, their weapon systems powering up. Ambassador Zalvex's face appeared on the screen, his once friendly demeanor replaced by cold arrogance. "People of Earth," he announced, his voice now laced with contempt, "your world now belongs to the Zarkonian Empire. Resistance is futile. Submit, and you may yet have a place in our grand design." As the first energy blasts rained down on Earth's cities, Samantha realized with horror the true extent of the Zarkonian deception. They had used the months of peaceful exchange to study Earth's defenses, to position their forces strategically around the globe. Now, with brutal efficiency, they launched their real invasion. In the chaos that followed, as governments scrambled to mount a defense and civilians fled in panic, Samantha knew that humanity faced its greatest challenge. The Zarkonians had mocked them, using their openness and hope against them. But as she watched the first human fighters take to the skies in a desperate counterattack, she felt a surge of determination. "They may have tricked us," she said to Hayes, her voice firm with resolve, "but they've underestimated what humans are capable of when pushed to the brink." As the battle for Earth began in earnest, Samantha knew that the fate of humanity would depend on their ability to outsmart and outfight an enemy that had already proven its willingness to deceive. The real test of human ingenuity and resilience was just the ambush and Earth's fall. The skies over New York City blazed with the fierce exchange of energy weapons. Zarkonian ships, their hulls glimmering with an otherworldly sheen, rained destruction upon the sprawling metropolis. The once magnificent skyline now stood engulfed in flames and smoke, a grim testament to the aliens' devastating power. Dr. Samantha Chen gripped the edge of her console, her knuckles white as she watched the unfolding catastrophe. The Global Space Observation Center, now repurposed as an emergency command post, was a hive of frantic activity. Screens flickered with reports from around the globe, each one more dire than the last. "London has fallen," a haggard officer announced. "Paris is under heavy bombardment. Beijing reports massive casualties." Director Hayes, his face etched with lines of exhaustion and worry, turned to Samantha. "Doctor, please tell me you found something, anything, we can use against them." Samantha shook her head, frustration evident in her voice. "Their technology is so far beyond ours, Marcus. It's like comparing a stone axe to a laser gun, but I'm not giving up." As if to punctuate her words, the building shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling as the sounds of nearby explosions grew louder. "We need to evacuate," Hayes decided. "We can't coordinate a defense if we're dead. Dr. Chen, gather your team and all the data you can. We're moving to Site Omega." Site Omega, a top-secret facility buried deep within the Rocky Mountains. It had been designed as a last-resort command center in the event of a global catastrophe. None had ever imagined it would be used against an alien invasion. As they hurried through the corridors, Samantha's mind raced. The Zarkonians' betrayal stung deeply, but more than that, their overwhelming technological superiority terrified her. How could humanity hope to stand against such power? The evacuation was chaotic. Military transports, loaded with essential personnel and equipment, sped away from the burning city. As their convoy wound through the countryside, Samantha watched streams of civilians fleeing on foot, their faces masks of fear and confusion. "We failed them," she whispered, her heart heavy with guilt. Hayes, overhearing her, placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We were deceived, all of us, but this isn't over. Humanity has faced extinction before and survived. We'll do it again." The journey to Site Omega took days, a harrowing trek across a nation under siege. They passed through towns reduced to rubble, witnessed fierce battles between human fighters and Zarkonian ships, and narrowly avoided alien patrols. Each mile reinforced the gravity of their situation. Earth was falling city by city, country by country. When they finally arrived at Site Omega, they found it already bustling with activity. Military leaders, scientists, and key government officials from around the world had congregated in this last bastion of human resistance. General Elena Rodriguez, a tough-as-nails veteran with a reputation for brilliant strategy, greeted them. "Welcome to what's left of our command structure," she said grimly. "We've got representatives from every major nation here. What's left of them, anyway?" Inside the facility's main control room, a massive holographic display showed the extent of the Zarkonian occupation. Red zones covered most of the planet, with only a few pockets of blue indicating areas still under human control. "They've established major base camps in every continent," Rodriguez explained. "Our conventional weapons are useless against their shields. Nuclear options have been considered, but the environmental impact would be catastrophic. We'd be destroying ourselves along with them." Samantha studied the display, her scientific mind already formulating possibilities. "What about their communication systems? Have we made any progress in decrypting them?" A lanky man with wire-rimmed glasses stepped forward. "Dr. Aidan Foster, Cryptography Division," he introduced himself. "We've made some headway, but their encryption is like nothing we've ever seen. It's not just advanced, it's alien in its very conception." "Keep at it," Hayes urged. "If we can disrupt their comms, we might have a chance at coordinating a global counterattack." As the days turned into weeks, Site Omega became a hive of desperate innovation. Samantha worked tirelessly with a team of international scientists, analyzing every scrap of data on Zarkonian technology. They reverse-engineered captured weapons, studied the composition of alien alloys, and theorized on the principles behind their faster-than-light travel. Progress was slow and often frustrating. For every breakthrough, there seemed to be a dozen dead ends. But gradually, a picture began to emerge, one that offered a glimmer of hope. Their entire technological base revolves around manipulating quantum fields, Samantha explained during a high-level briefing. "It's why their ships can move so fast, why their weapons are so powerful, but it's also a potential weakness." She brought up a series of complex equations on the screen. "If we can generate a sufficiently powerful quantum interference wave, we might be able to disrupt their systems temporarily. It won't destroy them, but it could give us an opening." General Rodriguez leaned forward, her eyes sharp with interest. "How long to develop this technology?" Samantha hesitated. "Months at least, maybe longer, and we'd need resources we don't currently have access to." "You'll have whatever you need," Hayes assured her. "This is the best shot we've had since this nightmare began." As the science team threw themselves into the quantum interference project, the military arm of the resistance was not idle. Special forces units, operating in small, highly mobile teams, carried out daring raids on Zarkonian outposts. They gathered intelligence, sabotaged alien equipment, and most importantly, kept hope alive among the oppressed human populations. One such team was led by Captain Jack Harper, a rugged ex-Navy SEAL with a knack for impossible missions. His latest operation had brought back something unprecedented: a live Zarkonian prisoner. The alien, restrained in a specially designed cell, was a source of both fascination and revulsion. Up close, the iridescent beauty of its skin seemed more reptilian, its multifaceted eyes cold and alien. Despite the best efforts of linguists and xenobiologists, communication proved challenging. It was Dr. Foster who finally made the breakthrough. Using a combination of advanced algorithms and intuitive leaps, he managed to establish a rudimentary form of communication with the prisoner. "It's not just a soldier," Foster reported, his voice trembling with excitement. "It's some kind of engineer or scientist, and it's afraid." Samantha, along with Hayes and Rodriguez, gathered to witness this unprecedented interaction. Through Foster's translation matrix, they began to glean crucial information. The Zarkonian Empire, it turned out, was not the monolithic force they had assumed. There were factions, internal conflicts, and, most surprisingly, a resistance movement within their own ranks. "It says there are others among its kind who oppose the invasion," Foster translated. "They believe the Empire's expansion is unsustainable, that it will lead to their own downfall." This revelation sent shockwaves through the human resistance. It wasn't just a game changer, it was a lifeline. If there were Zarkonians who opposed the invasion, there might be a chance for alliance, for turning the invaders against themselves. As Samantha left the interrogation chamber, her mind buzzing with new possibilities, an alarm suddenly blared through the facility. She rushed to the control room to find barely controlled chaos. Multiple Zarkonian ships approaching, an operator announced, his voice tight with tension. "They found us." The holographic display showed a swarm of red dots converging on their location. Site Omega, humanity's last, best hope, was about to face its greatest test. As the first explosions rocked the mountain above them, Samantha exchanged a look of grim determination with Hayes and Rodriguez. They had made progress, discovered new possibilities, but would it be enough? The next few hours would determine not just the fate of Site Omega, but potentially the future of human resistance and the survival of their species. The battle for Earth had entered a new phase, and humanity was fighting not just for victory, but for the right to exist. As the Zarkonian ships drew nearer, Samantha steeled herself for the challenge ahead. They had been ambushed, beaten, and pushed to the brink, but the human spirit was far from broken. The real fight was just beginning. The underground resistance. The attack on Site Omega was swift and merciless. Zarkonian energy weapons tore through the mountain's defenses, sending cascades of rock and debris raining down on the facility. Inside, alarms blared as the resistance fighters scrambled to their stations. Dr. Samantha Chen found herself in the heart of the chaos, coordinating with the science team to safeguard their vital research. "We can't let them get their hands on the quantum interference data," she shouted over the din, her fingers flying across the holographic interface. Nearby, Director Hayes and General Rodriguez were orchestrating a desperate defense. "Captain Harper," Rodriguez barked into her comm, "I need your team to hold the main access tunnel. Buy us time to evacuate the critical personnel and research." "Roger that, General," came Harper's terse reply. "We'll give him hell." As the battle raged above and around them, Samantha worked feverishly to upload their research to a secure, distributed network. Each tremor that shook the facility sent a jolt of fear through her, fear that all their work, all their hope, might be lost in an instant. "Doctor, we need to move now," Hayes urged, appearing at her side. "The outer defenses are breached. We have minutes at most." With a final command, Samantha initiated the data transfer and nodded. "It's done. Let's go." They raced through the corridors of Site Omega, the sounds of combat growing ever closer. They reached the emergency evacuation tunnels just as a massive explosion rocked the facility. The last thing Samantha saw before the tunnel entrance sealed behind them was a group of resistance fighters, led by the indomitable Captain Harper, engaging a squad of Zarkonian shop troops in fierce close-quarters combat. The evacuation was chaotic and heartrending. Not everyone made it out. As their transport sped away through hidden underground passages, Samantha's mind raced with the faces of colleagues and friends left behind. The cost of this war was mounting, and the weight of it threatened to crush her spirit. Days later, the survivors of Site Omega regrouped in a series of abandoned mine shafts deep in the Appalachian Mountains. This new base, hastily outfitted with salvaged equipment, was a far cry from the advanced facility they'd lost. But it had one crucial advantage: It was virtually undetectable to Zarkonian scanners. In a makeshift war room, the leaders of the resistance took stock of their situation. The holographic map of Earth now showed vast swaths of red, indicating Zarkonian control. The blue areas of human resistance had shrunk to mere pinpricks. "We've lost nearly 70% of our fighting force," General Rodriguez reported grimly. "Major population centers are under full Zarkonian control. They're beginning to establish permanent settlements." The news hit like a physical blow. Samantha felt a wave of despair threatening to overwhelm her, but she pushed it aside. Now, more than ever, they needed hope. "We still have our research," she said, stepping forward, "and we've made a breakthrough." All eyes turned to her as she activated a holographic display. "We've identified a potential weakness in Zarkonian quantum field manipulation. Their technology relies on maintaining precise quantum states. If we can generate a powerful enough interference wave, we could potentially disrupt their systems on a massive scale." A spark of hope ignited in the room. It was Director Hayes who voiced what they were all thinking. Could this turn the tide of the war? Samantha nodded cautiously. "Potentially, but we need more data, and we need resources to build a prototype." "Whatever you need, you'll have it," Rodriguez declared. "This is the best shot we've had in months." As the resistance settled into their new base, a new strategy began to take shape. Small teams were dispatched across the globe, tasked with gathering intelligence, sabotaging Zarkonian operations, and most crucially, sourcing the materials needed for the quantum interference device. Captain Jack Harper, who had miraculously escaped the fall of Site Omega, led many of these missions. His team became legends among the resistance, pulling off seemingly impossible feats of espionage and sabotage. Meanwhile, Dr. Aidan Foster continued his work with the Zarkonian prisoner. As their ability to communicate improved, a startling picture began to emerge. The Zarkonian Empire, it seemed, was not as unified as they had believed. "There's a growing faction within their society that opposes this war," Foster reported during a briefing. "They believe the cost of maintaining their empire is too high, that it's leading to cultural stagnation and resource depletion." This information opened up new possibilities. If there were Zarkonians who opposed the war, could they be turned into allies? Samantha found herself working closely with Foster, integrating this new intelligence into their plans. Together, they began to formulate a daring strategy, one that combined the quantum interference technology with the potential for internal Zarkonian sabotage. As weeks turned to months, the resistance grew stronger. Hidden bases were established around the world, linked by a secure communication network that utilized quantum entanglement, a technology reverse-engineered from captured Zarkonian devices. The quantum interference prototype progressed steadily. Each test brought them closer to a functional device, but also highlighted the enormous challenges they faced. The power requirements were staggering, and the range was limited. "We need to get closer to their main power nodes," Samantha explained during a strategy session. "If we can plant these devices near their major installations, we could create a cascading failure in their systems." It was an audacious plan, fraught with danger. But as General Rodriguez pointed out, they were running out of alternatives. "Earth can't sustain much more of this occupation," she said gravely. "It's do or die time." As they prepared for what might be their final offensive, an unexpected opportunity arose. Captain Harper's team, on a routine sabotage mission, stumbled upon something extraordinary, a Zarkonian research outpost that seemed to be operating independently from the main invasion force. Initial reconnaissance suggested that this outpost might be aligned with the rumored Zarkonian resistance. It was a risky gambit, but the potential payoff was too great to ignore. A joint team was assembled, combining Harper's combat expertise with Samantha's scientific knowledge and Foster's communication skills. Their mission: to make contact with these potential Zarkonian allies and, if possible, forge an alliance that could change the course of the war. As they prepared to embark on this crucial mission, Samantha felt a mix of trepidation and hope. They were about to venture into unknown territory, both literally and figuratively. The fate of Earth could hinge on the outcome of this single operation. Looking around at her teammates, the battle-hardened Captain Harper, the brilliant but nervous Dr. Foster, and the mix of soldiers and scientists that made up their squad, Samantha was struck by the resilience of the human spirit. Despite everything they had endured, despite the overwhelming odds, they were still fighting, still innovating, still hoping. As their stealth transport lifted off, cloaked from Zarkonian sensors, Samantha allowed herself a moment of optimism. They had been mocked, ambushed, and nearly defeated. But humanity was far from finished. The tide was about to turn, and the Zarkonians were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the human capacity for ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer, stubborn determination. The mission to contact the Zarkonian rebels was underway, and with it, the next phase of humanity's fight for survival had begun. Humanity's resurgence. The stealth transport glided silently through the night sky, its advanced cloaking technology, reverse-engineered from captured Zarkonian tech, keeping it hidden from enemy sensors. Inside, Dr. Samantha Chen double-checked her equipment, her heart racing with a mix of anticipation and fear. Captain Jack Harper, his face set in grim determination, addressed the team. "Remember, we have no idea what we're walking into. Stay alert, stay alive." As they approached the coordinates of the mysterious Zarkonian outpost, Samantha couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of their situation. Here they were, a ragtag team of humans, about to attempt diplomacy with a splinter group of the very aliens who had nearly conquered their planet. The outpost came into view, a sleek, otherworldly structure nestled in a remote mountain range. As they landed in a concealed valley nearby, Samantha exchanged a nervous glance with Dr. Foster. Everything hinged on his ability to communicate with these potential allies. Their approach to the outpost was tense, every step measured and cautious. When they finally reached the perimeter, they were met not with hostility, but with curiosity. A group of Zarkonians emerged, their iridescent skin shimmering in the moonlight. Foster stepped forward, his translation device at the ready. What followed was a tense but revolutionary exchange. The Zarkonians, it turned out, were indeed part of a growing rebellion within their own empire. Led by a scientist named Zalfran, they had established this outpost to develop technologies that could undermine the invasion without resorting to full-scale war. "Our empire has lost its way," Zalfran explained through Foster's translator. "This endless expansion, this destruction of unique civilizations, it goes against everything our ancestors believed in." As the humans shared their own story and their plans for the quantum interference device, a spark of excitement ignited among the Zarkonian rebels. They saw in this technology a way to cripple the invasion force without causing widespread destruction. The next few days were a whirlwind of collaborative effort. Zarkonian and human scientists worked side by side, combining their knowledge to refine and enhance the quantum interference technology. Samantha found herself in awe of the Zarkonians' advanced understanding of quantum mechanics, while the aliens were impressed by the humans' innovative approaches and adaptability. Meanwhile, Captain Harper and his team exchanged tactical information with the Zarkonian rebels, developing a comprehensive strategy for a coordinated global counterattack. The plan that emerged was audacious. Simultaneous strikes on key Zarkonian installations around the world, using the enhanced quantum interference devices to disable their defenses. As the day of the attack approached, a sense of nervous energy permeated both the human resistance and their new Zarkonian allies. This was their one shot at turning the tide of the war. If it failed, Earth would likely be lost forever. The night before the operation, Samantha found herself standing outside the outpost, gazing up at the stars. Zolfran approached, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the starlight. "Your species continues to surprise us," the Zarkonian scientist said softly. In all our conquests, we've never encountered a race with such resilience and creativity." Samantha smiled wryly. "We're too stubborn to know when we're beaten, I suppose." As dawn broke, the joint human-Zarkonian force mobilized. Stealth ships, loaded with quantum interference devices and strike teams, launched from hidden bases around the globe. Samantha, along with Foster and Harper, joined the team targeting the primary Zarkonian command center in what used to be New York City. The attack began with a devastating surprise. As the quantum interference devices activated, Zarkonian ships fell from the sky, their advanced systems rendered useless. On the ground, resistance fighters emerged from hiding, armed with weapons enhanced by Zarkonian technology. The battle for Earth had begun in earnest, and for the first time since the invasion, humanity had the upper hand. In New York, Samantha's team fought their way through the alien-occupied streets. The once familiar cityscape, now a twisted mix of human architecture and alien technology, became a battlefield. Captain Harper led the charge, his tactical genius shining as he outmaneuvered the confused and disoriented Zarkonian forces. As they approached the command center, a massive structure that had once been the Empire State Building, they encountered fierce resistance. The Zarkonian leadership, realizing the dire nature of their situation, fought with desperate ferocity. In the heat of battle, Samantha found herself putting her scientific knowledge to unexpected use. She quickly recalibrated their quantum interference devices to create localized disruptions, allowing the team to breach heavily defended positions. The final push to the command center was a blur of plasma fire, explosions, and hand-to-hand combat. Harper's team, fighting alongside their Zarkonian allies, slowly but surely gained ground. As they burst into the main control room, they were met with a sight that would be etched in Samantha's memory forever. The Zarkonian Supreme Commander, an imposing figure with ornate markings on his iridescent skin, stood defiant amidst the chaos. "You think this victory means anything?" the commander snarled through Foster's translator. "Our empire spans galaxies. We will return, and your world will burn." But as Harper's team secured the room and Zalthran stepped forward to confront his former leader, the true scale of the human-led rebellion became clear. Holographic displays showed similar scenes playing out across the globe. London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing. In every major city, the Zarkonian occupation forces were being routed. More than that, signals were coming in from space. The Zarkonian rebellion, emboldened by the success on Earth, had spread to the invasion fleet. Ships were standing down, crews mutinying against officers loyal to the old regime. As they burst into the main control room, they were met with a sight that would be etched in Samantha's memory forever. The Zarkonian Supreme Commander, an imposing figure with ornate markings on his iridescent skin, stood defiant amidst the chaos. "You think this victory means anything?" the commander snarled through Foster's translator. "Our empire spans galaxies. We will return, and your world will burn." But as Harper's team secured the room and Zalthran stepped forward to confront his former leader, the true scale of the human-led rebellion became clear. Holographic displays showed similar scenes playing out across the globe. London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing. In every major city, the Zarkonian occupation forces were being routed. More than that, signals were coming in from space. The Zarkonian rebellion, emboldened by the success on Earth, had spread to the invasion fleet. Ships were standing down, crews mutinying against officers loyal to the old regime. As the realization of defeat settled over the Zarkonian commander, Samantha felt a complex mix of emotions: relief, exhaustion, and a tentative hope for the future. In the days that followed, the full extent of humanity's victory became apparent. The Zarkonian invasion force was in disarray, with many surrendering to the human-led coalition. Those that attempted to flee found their ships disabled by a planet-wide quantum interference field, a final gift from the combined efforts of human and rebel Zarkonian scientists. As the dust settled, the monumental task of rebuilding began. But it was not just Earth that was being reconstructed. A new galactic order was taking shape, with humans and their Zarkonian allies at its center. Samantha, standing atop the reclaimed command center and looking out over the battered but unbroken New York skyline, felt a profound sense of pride and responsibility. Humanity had not just survived, they had proven themselves on a cosmic stage. As the sun set on the first day of this new era, Samantha knew that the greatest challenges and the greatest adventures still lay ahead. But whatever the universe had in store, she was confident that humanity, with its unyielding spirit and newfound allies, was ready to face it head-on. The stars, once a distant dream, now beckoned, and humanity, tempered by fire and stronger than ever, was ready to answer the call. The final stand and new era. In the months following the liberation of Earth, humanity found itself thrust onto the galactic stage. The victory over the Zarkonian invasion force had sent shockwaves through the cosmos, alerting other alien civilizations to the existence of this upstart species that had managed to do the impossible. Dr. Samantha Chen, now heading Earth's newly formed Interstellar Relations Department, faced the monumental task of navigating this new reality. The remnants of the Zarkonian Empire, though greatly weakened, still posed a threat. More pressingly, other alien powers were now turning their attention to Earth, some with offers of alliance, others with more dubious intentions. We've got reports of an Andromeda Consortium fleet approaching the outer solar system, Captain Jack Harper, recently promoted to colonel, announced during a high-level briefing. Their intentions are unclear. Director Hayes, his hair now more grey than pepper, leaned forward. Do we have the capability to defend against another potential invasion? Samantha shared a glance with Zalfran, who had become Earth's primary liaison with the Zarkonian rebels. Our combined fleet is formidable, the alien scientist said, but we cannot be certain it would be enough against an unknown foe. It was General Rodriguez who voiced what they were all thinking. Then perhaps it's time we took the fight to them. Show the galaxy that Earth is not to be trifled with. The plan that emerged was audacious. Using intelligence provided by their Zarkonian allies, they identified the location of the former Empire's primary shipyard, a massive space station orbiting a distant star. If they could capture this facility, it would not only cripple any hopes of an Imperial resurgence, but also provide Earth with advanced shipbuilding capabilities. The mission was designated Operation Starforge, and it would be humanity's first major extraterrestrial military campaign. As preparations for the operation ramped up, Earth buzzed with activity. The quantum interference technology, now refined and mass-produced, was integrated into a new generation of warships. Volunteers from around the world, inspired by the recent victory, signed up in droves to join the Earth Defense Force. Samantha found herself at the heart of these preparations, coordinating between human engineers and Zarkonian technicians, ensuring that the fleet would be ready for the challenges ahead. The work was exhausting but exhilarating. Every day brought new discoveries, new advancements that pushed the boundaries of human knowledge. Finally, after weeks of preparation, the Earth fleet was ready. Led by the flagship Defiant, with Colonel Harper at the helm and Samantha on board as Chief Science Officer, the Armada set off for deep space. As they engaged their FTL drives, Samantha felt a mix of trepidation and excitement. They were about to make history. The journey to the Imperial shipyards was tense. Despite their Zarkonian allies' best efforts to plot a safe course, they encountered several hostile patrols. Each skirmish was a test of their new technology and tactics, and each victory bolstered the fleet's confidence. When they finally arrived at their destination, the sight took Samantha's breath away. The shipyard was a massive structure, easily the size of a small moon, bristling with defense systems and surrounded by a protective fleet. Well, Harper said with a grim smile, they certainly don't look happy to see us. The battle that ensued was unlike anything in human history. Space around the shipyard lit up with energy weapon fire and explosions as the Earth fleet engaged the Imperial defenders. Samantha worked furiously at her station, coordinating the deployment of their quantum interference devices to disrupt enemy systems. The fighting was fierce, with losses on both sides. At times it seemed as though the operation might fail, but the combined human and rebel Zarkonian forces fought with a determination born of desperation. They all knew that failure here could mean the end of everything they had fought for. The turning point came when a team led by Zalafran managed to infiltrate the shipyard's main control center. Using access codes provided by the Zarkonian rebels, they were able to lower the station's shields, allowing Harper to lead a daring assault on the main hangar. As boarding parties stormed the shipyard, Samantha found herself in the thick of the action. Her scientific knowledge proved invaluable as they navigated the complex alien systems, disabling defenses and securing vital areas. The final confrontation took place on the shipyard's command deck. The Imperial Admiral, a towering Zarkonian with battle-scarred skin, faced off against Harper, Samantha, and Zalfran. "You think this victory means anything?" the Admiral snarled, echoing the words of the commander they had defeated on Earth. "You have no idea of the forces you're meddling with." But as Harper moved to apprehend him, the Admiral activated a hidden device. Alarms blared throughout the station as a massive energy buildup was detected. "He's initiated a self-destruct sequence," Zalfran shouted. What followed was a desperate race against time. While Harper and his team secured the prisoners, Samantha and Zalfran worked feverishly to disable the self-destruct mechanism. With seconds to spare, they managed to override the system, saving the shipyard and everyone on it. As the dust settled and the reality of their victory sank in, Samantha looked out at the vast expanse of space visible through the command deck's viewport. They had done it. Not only had they neutralized a major threat, but they had also secured a foothold in the stars. In the weeks and months that followed, the consequences of Operation Starforge reverberated across the galaxy. The capture of the Imperial shipyard sent a clear message. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The Andromeda Consortium, which had been cautiously observing Earth, now approached with offers of trade and alliance. More importantly, the victory opened up new avenues for exploration and discovery. With the advanced technology of the shipyard at their disposal, humanity could now build vessels capable of venturing to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. A year after the operation, Samantha stood on the observation deck of the newly christened Earth Space Station Alpha, watching as the first wave of exploration ships prepared to depart. Each vessel was crewed by a mix of humans and their alien allies, embarking on a mission of peaceful exploration and scientific discovery. As she observed the ships vanish into the starry void, Samantha reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. From the brink of extinction to the dawn of a new age of interstellar exploration, humanity had proven its resilience, ingenuity, and capacity for growth. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But whatever challenges lay ahead, Samantha was confident that humanity, standing alongside its new allies, was ready to face them. As the last exploration ship disappeared from view, Samantha turned to find Director Hayes approaching. "Quite a view, isn't it?" he said, a smile crinkling his weathered features. Samantha nodded, returning the smile. "It's just the beginning, isn't it?" Hayes chuckled. "Indeed it is, Dr. Chen. Indeed it is." He paused, his expression growing serious. "We've received some disturbing reports from the edge of known space. Something's out there, something that even the Zarkonians fear. The Council wants to assemble a team to investigate, and they want you to lead it." Samantha felt a familiar mix of excitement and apprehension. Once again, humanity was venturing into the unknown, facing challenges that would test them in ways they couldn't imagine. But as she looked out at the stars, she knew her answer. "When do we leave?" As they turned to leave the observation deck, the vastness of space stretched out before them, a canvas of infinite possibilities waiting to be explored. The next chapter in humanity's great adventure was about to begin, and Samantha Chen was ready to help write it.